Live from Dover, New Hampshire. Thank you for joining us. There is a brewing, this could be a major trade dispute that jeopardizes the entire relationship. I don't know, I doubt it, but it could be. And that is India's defiant persistence in buying large amounts of oil from Russia, which makes the Ukraine slaughter possible, because Russia is as the president pointed out today, a one commodity country, and therefore an extraordinarily weak and vulnerable economy. You bring down the price of oil and you bankrupt them and destroy them. You continue to buy oil from them, even at discounted rates, and you keep a certain level of oil transactions going on, and you end up funding their slaughter of innocent people in Ukraine, and their torture of people, as we're going to point it out, their torture of people. While there is a great deal of false reporting on civilians killed by the IDF, where it's probably the only army that I can think of that goes to the lengths that it does to try to avoid killing civilians. The Russians have killed many more civilians than the Israelis have, many, many more. They also torture civilians. There's no indication of Israeli torture, although we have current indication of Hamas torture, about which the international community does absolutely zero. Because the international community is aiding and abetting Hamas's terrorism. And they have been for 40 years. Because they're anti-Semitic, anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, or just plain pro-Muslim extremism. Who knows? None of it's good. Well, India is acting very defiant. Modi over the weekend has defended his ability to take into consideration the economic concerns of his own country. He points out that other countries are dealing with Russia, but India can't. That is a double standard, and everything you can think of for a person who otherwise is a friend of the United States, and an expert on this made clear, I think this is the Journal, made clear what their thinking is. And this is a guy named Sriram Chaluya, who's the dean of the O.P. Jindal Global University School of International Affairs in Sonipat, India. He says the view is that this is not going to affect the overall relationship, and we don't have to kowtow because we need them and they need us to deal with China. Now, I don't know how we resolve that, but let me tell you what the president has said, and in part what he's doing. He originally said he'd place a 25% tariff on Indian imports to the U.S., all Indian imports, in addition to whatever tariffs already exist. Now he says he is considering, because of their continuing to do it, substantially higher. Now, America has always sort of allowed India to have this relationship with Russia. Remember, way back in the Cold War, India was really a straight out ally of the Soviet Union and the communists. It was Pakistan that was our ally. That switched with Muslim extremism. That switched. Now, Trump has been playing that card very hard. I mean, he met with the head of the Pakistani army when he settled the war between India and Pakistan. He was fair and balanced in laying out the responsibilities of both, although it did appear to me that was instigated by Pakistan. I don't think that worked out really, really well with Modi, but they were definitely trying to, jab him. Now, does it work with India? We're going to have to see. We have over the years allowed a double standard, which is we've allowed them to do and to maintain even after the Soviet Union fell and they switched to becoming our ally, which really was just around the time of Bush, second Bush. We allowed them to continue their relationship with Russia, and which of course we would do in normal times. But now that all of the European countries have, cut off Russia, and Russia is, a little more. Yeah, there's Trump in his own words. India is not only buying massive amounts of Russian oil, they are then, for much more of the oil purchase, selling it on the open market for big profits. They don't care how many people in Ukraine are being killed by the Russian war machine. So, as he says, he's going to raise tariffs very, very high. And there is a purpose to this, and it's a very sound one. It's trying to get Putin to wake up by slapping him as hard across the face or punching him in the jaw as hard as possible without going to war, without having to go to war. But make the economic pain so great that you can't stand it. This is really no different than what would happen with secondary sanctions. Secondary sanctions would affect India greatly because they would be penalized for buying Russian oil and transporting it. You put the sanctions not only against the country you're sanctioning, but the countries they do business with. And 33% of Russia's oil is sold to India. You knock out 33% of their oil sales, and Putin's going to have to give up a couple of the mistresses or whatever. Talk to his daughter. Boy, she really upset with him for his killing Ukrainians. And China is the biggest, of course, dealer with Russia, 50%. Now, it's not as if they are getting it at bargain prices. As the president points out, India then turns around and sells it for a big profit. So this isn't what Modi makes it out to be. Oh, we need the energy. We need the mullah. That's what we need. Now, it is true that a certain amount of trading is being done by Turkey. That you would expect, because I don't trust Erdogan as far as looking across the room here. And the surprising one is Japan. And I hope that's a very, very small amount. And a couple of European Union states. There may be some in Eastern Europe that do some business still with Russia. We'll have to look at that. But we're talking about minuscule amounts of money in comparison to 33, even Turkey and Japan and a couple of these little states. So 83% is taken up by India and China. So we're not talking about ones that'll make a difference. There is a matter of principle involved. But here with India, it's both a matter of principle and a practical issue. Now, this is all on a day in which a Ukrainian prisoner of war was returned and described the conditions of his confinement by the Russians, which would make you think, that Stalin was still in charge. He was just about starved to death, beaten. I guess you could call it tortured. This is not war. This is state conducted terrorism by Putin, and he also had branded onto his skin Slava Russia. So now there it is. Now that is to look at all those cuts on his stomach. I wonder what those are. See, Ted? Going above his.
I guess that's probably they probably sealed him up. He probably got cut open.
That looks like stitches, doesn't it?
Yeah, those are stitches. That's a side shot, so that's him sideways.
They say this translates into Slava Russia. I don't see that there, but of course there are some in the Russian alphabet, which I would have no idea what those are. The reason they did Slava Russia, which means glory to Russia, is that a number of the a number of the Ukrainian soldiers have a tattoo saying Slava Ukraine. So this was to stick it back to him and send him back with that permanently engraved on his skin. Exactly how he got out, why he got out, what the trade was, I don't know. I just know that he came forward with this, and he's not the first. And not that the world press is particularly sympathetic with Russia, but for some reason they don't. It's like expected of Russia that they're going to torture people. Whereas if Israel accidentally kills some civilians, it's on purpose, even though they're trying not to. And it's impossible to conduct a war without doing it. No one seems to even inquire as to how many civilians are being killed by the Russians. I think has to be a lot. I mean, look what they've done to my favorite city, Kharkiv. I mean, they've killed thousands of people there. There's 1 million Ukrainians that are living outside of Ukraine because they figure if they were in Ukraine, they'd be dead now. Well, back in America, which is turning partially communist and socialist, or there's a real attempt in New York to make it communist, Comrade Zoltan Mondami received support from Pocahontas. I don't know if this suggests a great deal of Native American support in New York, but as far as I can tell, the Native Americans don't like Pocahontas because they think she's a damn liar. And Indians, Native Americans, many of the tribes were valued for their honesty and integrity, even though they might have been very, very fierce warriors. Somebody who pretends to be Native American and it hardly even shows up in a DNA testing so she can get ahead of others to get into school, creep out a little bit of money like Mondami did also, even though he's rich. Mondami claimed to be black. You want to look at a picture of him? You tell me if he's black. Or is he just a damn liar and cheat and fraud and communist pig? Well, he and Warren had a great time together. The Post says, giving Warren cheap thrills. I don't know exactly how he did that, and I'm not going to ask. And it is unfair to call it Pocahontas. Pocahontas was a beautiful young Indian maiden. And there's nothing young or beautiful about the modern Pocahontas. Woo! I don't know what kind of thrills Mondami would give her, but
They meet. So was this when he was down in?
but maybe it's because it's like, oh gee, there's another communist wacko like me around.
Well, you'll
I
like.
don't have to be alone.
Yeah.
I don't know if she's in favor of state-owned grocery stores.
Right. Well, you'll like the New York Post cover here. You maybe even already seen it. This is the late city final, and I think you'll find this quite the headline, Mayor. That's pretty good, right? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. New York Post, right? They never fail. That's a good one. That was late.
She should have at least shown up with her Indian headdress,
right,
and Pocahontas outfit.
right.
Gosh almighty. I don't know. There should be if there were a national council of tribes or something, they should have a ceremony excommunicating her or something.
Right.
Well, for a very, very long time, from the day it began, the idea of legalizing marijuana in New York, to me, was a disaster. And I predicted what would happen, 30 years ago, when people said, oh, it's harmless. It won't do anything. It'll cut down on the use of marijuana. It'll cut down on organized crime's profits from marijuana. And I said, you liberals are just as unrealistic about this as you are about the economy, or just as willing to destroy our great country in favor of Marxism as you are with the economy. Because it is quite clear what will happen if you legalize marijuana. First of all, many more people will use it. Many more people will get addicted. Oh no, you don't get addicted to marijuana. I mean, I knew people who were. I knew people who were seriously addicted to marijuana. I don't know how they say that, but they do. Marijuana is really harmless. Much better than alcohol. All of that is in dispute now. It's been study after study after study showing that marijuana is more dangerous than alcohol because it has a much more serious long-term impact on the brain, including parts of the brain that can affect your behavior, violence, lack of violence, and losing control of your emotions. It has a tremendous effect on the cognitive part of the brain. It renders you unable to have motor skills, which means you can be much worse than a drunk driver, except we can't detect it as well because there is no test like we have for alcohol that determines a number beyond which you're clearly going to be impaired. We don't know that. We have to figure that out by looking at you, and sometimes it's not apparent that you shouldn't be behind the wheel of a car. This is so bad that the state of Washington is considering changing their laws. Colorado should, but they're governed by communist pigs who are the ones that brought all of the illegals into Denver and ruined it. And the mayor who is going to stand at the gates of Denver and stop ICE from coming in, except he asked where the gates of Denver are. There are no gates to Denver. So the poor little jackass didn't have any place to go but hide in his basement when ICE did come in and take out a lot of the illegals that he and Governor Feliz Navidad invited in. So cannabis in New York is leading to, with a study just done by an organization that tries to alleviate the worst aspects of drug addiction. There was a study done that we now have a record number of people in New York suffering from marijuana addiction, cannabis addiction. It's one of the stupidest things a society has done. They legalized cannabis during the opioid crisis. That comes from Luke Naster, who's president and CEO of Camelot Counseling. And they counsel drug addicts. And this is like about the 5th or 6th report of overwhelming numbers of addicts since we legalized marijuana. Now, understand what we really did. Since we put together a usual useless, I'm not going to say corrupt because I can't prove that, but usually that goes along with it too. Usually useless, unable to get any work done, unable to act as responsible adult, Democrat creeps to oversee legal marijuana. They spent 5 years fighting with each other as to how it was going to be divided. I hesitate to think what that fighting was all about, because I remember when they fought over the contracts for cable in New York City, and it really was all about divvying up the kickbacks and the millions and millions of dollars that were paid back and forth. A lot of them going to politicians like David Dinkins and Charlie Rangel. So I don't know if that's happened here, but this took 5 years at least. During that time, over 1,000 illegal cannabis stores emerged in New York. Given the fact that we were going to legalize it, and given the fact that we then got Bragg as a DA, and instead of being prosecuted for it, you would get a Citizens Achievement Award for opening an illegal marijuana shop. We have thousands of them in New York, and then the first legal ones opened, and now we have hundreds of those. And they're turning out to violate every law imaginable. And a number of people using marijuana, some people say, has tripled. Not only that, but it has increased the strength of marijuana because they compete with each other to be stronger, to the point where you've actually had overdoses from marijuana. But this addiction thing is, again, proof positive of one of the lies told to you when they legalized marijuana that it's not addictive. It is addictive. It is very addictive. It is, in fact, an entry drug, not for everyone, but for a lot of people. Very few people start with heroin or crack. Most people start with marijuana. If you can keep them away from marijuana, it's like the broken windows theory. They ain't gonna become crack and heroin addicts or whatever else they put into their bodies to destroy themselves. And we're talking about numbers now in American cities, particularly run by Democrats who seem to, they certainly love cannabis more than they love God. They don't even like God. I mean, cannabis is the great God. I mean, Adams said that New York would have a great economy based on gambling and cannabis. No wonder he can't even gain a point against a communist socialist. And then you got to make your mind up between a guy who's had the right ideas but can't execute, except for cannabis, which is nuts. A city based on an economy of cannabis and gambling is a city run by organized crime. Because yes, there'll be the legal aspect of it, but then there'll be the offshoots that organized crime will control, and they will do everything they can to try to control the legal aspect of it also, like they did with Las Vegas, until I and the Justice Department and Randy Mastro and Joe DeGeneva threw them out of Las Vegas. This is the stupidest thing. No, it isn't stupid. Nothing stupid about it at all. The people who went along with it and don't know why are stupid. But there's a real Marxist purpose behind this, and it's working. Now, I'm going to give you an example of what these nonprofits are all about. Please don't get all bleary-eyed over nonprofits. Please don't. I mean, one of the biggest corruption cases I had going way back to the Lindsay administration was a nonprofit. They stole millions. If the nonprofits in New York work, there'd be nobody poor in New York. It's gotten so much money. Most of that money that didn't get to the poor people who remain poor went through the not-for-profits who have the big extravaganzas where AOC can cheat and get a $35,000 gown and claim it's worth $700, that kind of thing. I mean, this is all one big web of corruption to create and maintain a dependent, seriously dependent community. It's the Democrat Party's extension of one of the great institutions that they supported more than any other group in the history of America, and that's slavery. So the law in New York, as the New York Post points out, doesn't even have limits on public smoking of marijuana. So you walk around New York and you're in a marijuana den. I remember when I was told by a very nice police officer a long time back, I was sitting in Central Park that I couldn't smoke a cigar in Central Park. Bloomberg had prohibited it. I said, what happens if I pull out a marijuana cigarette? He said, well, we can't arrest you for that. And he laughed and I laughed. And it wasn't so funny, was it? Housing Works. Sounds like a really wonderful place. I mean, this is like Mother Teresa, right? Except Housing Works has two different groups that get a fortune from the government. One is a drug treatment service, very commendable. The other is a drug distribution service, very uncommendable. That's like Alcoholics Anonymous being funded to hold their Alcohol Anonymous session, and then afterward having money to have a cocktail party. After we finish the session, my name is Ron Smith, and I'm an alcoholic. And I'm here because for the next hour, I'm going to sit through this meeting and listen to all of your bullshit while I wait for the cocktail hour. And that's what I like so much about Alcoholics Anonymous. And thank you for providing the liquor later. So you go to Housing Works and they treat you for drugs, and then you go next door and get your drugs. Are liberals stupid or perverse? Both in different degrees, from those who are extraordinarily stupid to those who are extraordinarily evil. And they all come together, and they all have to think the same way, use the same words, believe the same things, and negate history in exactly the same way. There is there was an article I found somewhere about a service known as Mood, and this Mood thing, you can order your cannabis online, and I'm not going to show it to you, but I took out their advertisement.
Like Amazon, like an Amazon
It's
delivery.
very, very seductive. It tells you 100% federally legal THC from small U.S. farms. I don't know how that is, since it still violates federal law. Is there some exemption for small U.S. farms to grow marijuana? I didn't know that. We'll have to find out. Some of these packages of marijuana are wrapped in replicas of the American flag. Thanks to the 2018 Farm Bill, cannabis products that contain less than 0.3% Delta-9 THC by dry weight can be legally sold and shipped nationwide. That means you can enjoy potent, high-quality THC flower without worrying about legality. That's it, I guess. And with trusted retailers like Mood, you can be confident that what you're getting is not only legal, but premium in every way. Why more people are choosing online cannabis delivery. It's becoming the go-to option for cannabis lovers. And now they have a whole group of it here, and they have pictures of it. Now, it looks awful. I don't know why they show pictures of it. It looks a little like dog crap. One of its name, Pluto, Super Buff Cherry. They got a whole bunch of different ones here. The number one choice, hand-selected high-potency strains. Those are the ones they go for. The high-potency strains. Thinking you blow your brains out. Meanwhile, studies are coming out left and right, particularly in Europe, that it is seriously damaging to your brain, much more than we ever thought. And of course, obviously, it would have to stand to reason that the more potent you make it, and it's something like 8 times more potent than it was 30 years ago, the more damage it's going to do to your brain. Maybe that's why Colorado is all messed up. Even the poor people that don't use it are taking it in or smelling it all the time. And they're walking around in a fog. No wonder they voted for Biden. They went into the voting booth in a fog. I mean, there are people who complain about it in New York. I mean, I experienced a little bit of it in New York, but I don't really recall. Maybe I'm not as sensitive to it. I don't know. But I've been with friends who say, "Can't you smell that marijuana?" And I'll say, "It just smells bad." So hand-selected high-potency strains, farm fresh. Farm fresh, think of that, and organically grown. That's really amazing. You're going to worry about whether there are additives, like impure additives in marijuana. Triple tested, eco-friendly. Oh, the greenies can have it. All you want, greenies. Trusted by thousands. Then it shows you how to choose your favorite strain, go into your cart, and then it has an outline of states that tell you what you can get. Select the state you live in, and if your state allows for legal cannabis delivery, you will be redirected to the Mood website to shop. Now, I can't believe that in some way this doesn't violate federal law. They have that narrow exception for farms, but it seems to me this is a multi-billion-dollar business. And of course, it would be okay in New York, but the federal statute is still there. Please, if somebody could do a little research and want to call in and let us know I do not understand how this doesn't run afoul of the federal statutes. And if so, I don't know where they're located, but any state could take them on, any state to which they're selling a product. And there got to be some conservative states who actually care about the brains of their citizens. How to order high-quality cannabis online with mood. That's the name of this destructive website. Legal THC delivery. Well, I mean, they claim that, but then they require you to look at your state. I can't believe they're doing all that business within that narrow farm bill exception. Yesterday there was a police funeral for a police officer who died in the line of duty. Mondami didn't go to the funeral. Well, he showed up at that funeral, but he didn't show up at any of the funerals, even people who died in his area. You should lift up officers when you're not running for mayor, Adams said to reporters about Mondami. He could have lifted them up when he was an assemblyman. He could have done it over the years when he was in Albany. Well, I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate to use a police officer's funeral. His wife did a beautiful job of eulogizing him, I may add. But this guy is so dangerous that you have to take some of the gloves off, I think. And so far, I don't see a road to defeating him. I supported last time very, very strongly my friend Curtis Sliwa. I would like to support him now. I do support him, I guess. But I'm not filled with a great deal of confidence either, given the polls that I see, but more importantly, given the nature of the opponents' campaigns, including Cuomo's. They all seem to be just kind of play acting until the end. I know what a winning campaign looks like and feels like. Still time. We'll cross that bridge.
Still time.
When we know how to cross it. We don't right now. As I told you, and we showed you some pictures of it. I don't know if we have any available now. I could get some available after I take a short break. But they had yesterday the conclusion of the youth Jubilee in Rome. And they say it was well over 1 million young people that showed up to see Pope Leo say Mass and display the Eucharist. And it was described as a beautiful, solemn occasion, giving great hope to the world that young people are not of one mind. But there are many that are returning to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. It was at 7:30 p.m. yesterday when the Pope arrived, cheers of Viva Papa. He then brought out the Eucharist, and 1 million young people suddenly fell silent. Many on their knees with their eyes closed. This is from the New York Post, I think. It's their press reader. I'm not sure this was in the Post, but
we have some video.
Father. Yeah. Well, there's a beautiful video of the Pope carrying the cross. It looks like a big, heavy cross too. He's in pretty good shape, that Leo.
This is there he is here. This is last night. Was this last night or the night before? Some video of it. Get some sound here. Look at the moon.
Well, that is quite a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. I should have stayed an extra day. Unfortunately, the video we had showed the adults, and that is the Eucharist displayed for, they say, 1 million people, and I think you can see that it's total silence there. This was not at the Vatican. This was at a place known as Tor Vergata. It's described to the Post by Father Vincent Bernard, who's the university chaplain at NYU, who led a pilgrimage of students there. And he said that he spoke with a 19-year-old, Mario Teresi from Illinois. He recently became a Catholic and told Father Bernard, this was sensational. I truly feel change forever. I feel like I've found my forever home in the Catholic Church. It concluded with their singing a hymn, Jesus Christ, You Are My Life. I have a feeling that's what they're singing right now. The author, whose name I don't have, of this work, let me see. Colm Flynn. That's it, Colm Flynn. He's a correspondent for EWTN, who's a global Catholic network. And he observed from the young people I spoke to at Tor Vergata, I got a sense they are searching for deeper answers to life's oldest questions. This is something Pope Leo spoke to directly from the stage. He said, there is a burning question in our hearts, the need for truth we cannot ignore, which leads us to ask ourselves, what is true happiness? What is the true meaning of life? Jesus is our hope. True meaning. Indeed, from traveling the world, covering the Catholic Church and the people's relationship with faith for EWTN, I think young people, especially, have been fed the lie that you'll find fulfillment in fame, fortune, and followers. They've been encouraged to hang their identity on their career, on their social media persona, and on their popularity. And while these things might offer instant short-term gratification, more and more young people seem to be realizing that they don't lead to lasting, meaningful fulfillment. When the 3 F's disappear, fame, fortune, followers, what gives your life fulfillment and meaning? Young people today are holding out for and looking for meaning, and many are finding it in the tradition, culture, and beauty of the Catholic Church. Very well written poem. It's our hope. The atheists, the Marxists have driven God out of America and to a large extent out of Europe. The young people, the younger, even more, are coming back in large numbers. I was absolutely floored to read, and I assume it's true, I should really check it, that there are now more Roman Catholics in England than Anglicans, which is the Church of England founded by Henry VIII and Elizabeth I, in a breakaway from the Pope over his marriage to Anne Boleyn, who he subsequently chopped the head off. They didn't let him back in after he chopped the head off, by the way. He also killed one of his best friends, Thomas More, who died a martyr and a saint of the Roman Catholic Church and the patron saint of lawyers, often described as the last lawyer who got into heaven. Ha! It's a joke. Ha 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 ha. Now I sound like one of those late night hosts who aren't going to be around soon.
Well, they say over 1 million people attended, and here's some
Yeah, there you
people.
go. There are the young people. Those are the young people that I saw.
It was very nice to see.
That nice? We got to get Dr. Maria's pictures. She took even better pictures than I did. We went to the two most significant basilica churches. Their pilgrimage assigned them certain churches they had to go to, many of which have tremendous historical significance. John Lateran, for example, was the first Vatican. Existed there for hundreds of years before it was moved to the Vatican Hill. And the Church of St. John Lateran is the official church of the Bishop of Rome, which makes it in a certain way, legally, the primary church in Roman Catholicism, not the great basilica, although that's sort of a real technicality. I would say the Pope, I would say that guy from Chicago is pretty darn popular. No, notice he's not in a bubble. Pretty brave man.
That's open top.
I don't see a bubble. Do you?
No.
I mean, as far as I can recall, since the attempt on Pope John Paul, hasn't the Pope been in a bubble all the time? Don't we always see him like covered?
Yeah, this is different.
Like it's like a very large golf cart. There he's in a truck. Yeah, that's 1 million people. I just often go up in a helicopter to look at crowds because crowd estimates are always so varying. I remember some of the concerts in Central Park where we had 100,000 people, let's say.
Right.
I'm going to tell you, that's 1 million people. I mean, just from, even though I haven't done it in a while. And if it isn't 1 million people, it's real close. But you couldn't move in Rome for the 3 days that we were there without bumping into these kids from all over the world, white kids, black kids, brown kids, in between kids. And they range from, when I say kids, we're really talking mostly teenagers. Wonderfully, of course, wonderfully disciplined, not a problem. And as I said, they were like this Father Bernard led a pilgrimage that was built around, I guess, NYU, but they all were associated with some group or other. And it was very well organized. They had preachers who came and spoke to them, and they went to certain churches for services. They got to see both the historical and religious side of Rome. Also, they flooded the ice cream places. It was hard to get ice cream. It was a beautiful thing to see. It really lifted, and I don't think we realized how many people. Now that I look at that, I would not have said it was that many people. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Well, that's the hope. We need God back. Certainly need him back in America. We need him back in the world. It's what's missing. It's the stability that's missing. And even if you don't believe in God, you should understand that. If you're intelligent and free of biases and prejudices. Terry Moran, remember, who got fired?
Terry, where's Terry?
Well, Terry admitted, and he wrote this in a Substack post last week. Were we biased, meaning against Trump? Answer, yes, almost inadvertently, I'd say. Moran said the network did not diversify when it came to hiring pro-Trump voices, which is bound to impact coverage from what is a kind of deafness. Is that the first one to admit it? I mean, it's not a complete admission. It's almost as if it happened by accident. It really was on purpose. But I'm trying to think, have there been any? Yeah, there have been people who've sort of like converts. Yeah, but this is maybe the most prominent. So now what's going on in Texas?
The president now says, let's see if we can get some, let me get
Shall we
some-
take a short break?
Yeah, now would be a good time to do that so I can get some of this stuff organized here. And we'll come back and give everyone an update on the, I guess somehow they're spinning themselves as being courageous Democrats fleeing their own state.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
These
U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. And our update on Texas is, Ted?
That's right, Mayor. And see if my, oh, see, it's always out of focus. I got to refocus it every night. And then
We want you focused.
I know, out of focus here, but
All right, well, that's okay. You
I
can
got
be
to
a
get
little
up
out of
and
focus.
yeah. So the latest is that the Governor Abbott has asked the Texas Supreme Court to remove the Democrat ranking leader from office, arguing that by leaving the state, he has abandoned his oath to his duty to Texas.
So he's gone to the court to do that?
He's gone to the court to remove Texas Representative Gene Wu. Wu being the Democrat leader in the
Now,
Texas
what about
House.
the idea that it violates Texas law, but there was some talk of the FBI getting involved. How does it violate state law, federal law?
Yeah, so getting the FBI involved is interesting. I believe a reporter had asked, and actually John Cornyn has also asked, suggested that the FBI get involved. So There must be some
Apparently,
sort
the
of
House
connection to the
Speaker-
redistricting
The House
effort.
Speaker under Texas law has the right to issue warrants if they leave the state. I think that exists under Texas law. I got that. Whether it's a criminal charge or not. Last time they had to pay a big fine.
He's
I recall
requesting federal assistance. So you're
But
right, Mayor.
you can arrest, but Texas has to do the arresting. Now,
He's requesting assistance.
crossing state lines to violate a law like this would not fit under.
So the senator is citing that fact.
Crossing state lines in
Yeah.
pursuance of the crimes are usually crimes of violence,
Senator
or
Cornyn.
sexual abuse.
Senator Cornyn wrote to FBI Director Kash Patel, quote, since these state legislators are currently outside of Texas, the Texas Department of Public Safety may need support to arrest the fleeing
Oh, okay.
lawmakers.
Well, they're asking for support.
I request the
not for
FBI's
the-
assistance.
So this is that which the FBI can do.
As
The
federal-
FBI can assist local law enforcement or state law enforcement in the execution of state laws if they're requested to do so. So that's why they're being used, as opposed to being used to enforce a federal statute.
Right.
Now, I'm going to do a little research to see if there isn't a federal statute that applies. So it's very, very strange, Ted. I am 100% with the idea of if there is a law saying they can be arrested and returned, that you execute it. And if there is a law that says they can be prosecuted criminally or civilly for doing it, 100% do it, because it is ridiculous what they're doing.
Right.
I
And it-
mean, they're destroying. They talk about destroying democracy. They all were elected by the people of Texas, and they all have to vote for Texas to have a democracy. For half of them to run out to effectively end a quorum, Texas citizens didn't give them the right not to show up to vote.
Right.
In any event, here's where I get nervous.
Yep.
And that is removing the guy from office. I think removal from office is one hell of a dramatic slap in the face to the people who voted for him. And I don't like it. I don't like removal from office. Now, if that's the penalty after conviction of a crime, that's different. But premature removal from office, I'd have to take a good look at that. I mean, I would step back, and if I was asked to do that as a governor, I would say, wait a second, let's do some research, guys.
Yeah.
Some soul searching. If you say issue a warrant, show me the statute, we'll issue the warrant. If you say ask the FBI to help, absolutely. If we issue a warrant, we want it to work. If you're asking me, is it wrong for them to leave the state? It's. I think if it isn't criminal, it should be. It's also infantile as hell. It indicates the fact that the Democrat Party has lost all concept of democracy, all concept. If it's not their way, they're gonna take their toys and go home. It's absurd, and to do this over gerrymandering, which they do. Abbott has actually a reason to do it. There have been complaints about how Texas, based on the Voting Rights Act, was gerrymandered. And the Supreme Court has cast a lot of doubt has first of all limited the Voting Rights Act substantially, and cast substantial doubt on whether they're going to allow it to continue. In fact, they just took a case 2 days ago for next term that raises the issue that the Voting Rights Act directly conflicts with the 14th Amendment right to vote. So the Voting Rights Act was justified on the theory that there was substantial discrimination in the right to vote against Black people. Now, if that has been cured, then that exception doesn't exist anymore. And in certain places, the court has held it no longer exists, and they've done away with the Voting Rights Act. This has been a big complaint of Democrats. This has been going on for about 3 or 4 years of opinions. Now the question is, is it time to do away with it completely? Since there are 4 or 5 districts in Texas that only exist the way they do because they were gerrymandered, rigged, in order to comply with the Voting Rights Act. If the Voting Rights Act no longer applies, then it's time to redo them. And the state legislature can make its own decision with regard to that. Then it gets challenged by the court. That's what Abbott wants to do. It's very, very different than what they do in New York and in Illinois and elsewhere. I mean, they had a plan in New York that was so bad that even the Democratic court kicked it out. And then they put some judges on and took a lot of it back. I mean, the Democrats play this game a lot more than Republicans do, or certainly equally. I don't know about Republicans walking out on that. Do they?
Oh, Mayor,
well, in many cases, they control the state so much that are walking out when they'd have a quorum anyway.
Yeah.
In New York, it's quite possible that if
Democrats
Republicans walked out of the Senate and the
State House wouldn't
the state and the House, the Assembly, there'd still be a quorum.
Right. Yeah.
I don't even know if we have that. I don't think we do. We in Illinois? They say Illinois is the worst rigged state.
Wouldn't be surprised, but we know that Michigan's got its issues in Pennsylvania.
Michigan has been rigged for sure. Pennsylvania, terrible.
New York.
California is absurd.
California. I mean, Nevada.
I don't know what
Nevada. But California, you're right.
Yeah. Fancy Pants is saying that he's going to, retaliate.
I love that we all know
he's going to come up with 3 or 4 more Democratic districts. I love to throw the Republicans out of office.
Mayor, I love that we all know who you mean when you refer to Fancy Pants, right?
Oh yeah,
it's obviously
Mr. Hypocrite.
Yeah, that's a good. I think Fancy Pants should be his nickname. I like that. New Scum. I like New Scum. It's kind of. I mean, that's a harsh one, which he deserves. But it's harsh, right? Scum.
It's a little harsh. It's a little harsh for a guy
Brand
has hardly any manly qualities.
Well, that's the thing. Right? Yeah, Fancy Pants. It's relatively lighthearted. I like that one. That's a good one.
So the Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who is a wild and crazy left-winger, not Mandami, but getting close, decided to take the whole embrace of gay rights one step further and started dancing with an almost nude man in an embrace with a nearly naked man, the ex-Bank of England. The straight-laced 60-year-old Liberal Party leader made a surprise appearance at Vancouver Pride this past weekend. And he started dancing with a nude guy. Not the best example, huh? But just so you know what you're dealing with in Canada, huh?
Mark,
I don't understand. I don't understand why the Canadians don't vote 100% to join us with the decrepit government they've had for the last 10 years.
And their wildfires.
And how their economy has gotten. I mean, the country should be rich as hell.
Their wildfires are out of control right now, and the smoke's coming over the. We haven't experienced it here. Maybe we're too close to the ocean. But
so the Yankees work like hell.
To
make a trade for Jake Bird because their bullpen has had real problems, right?
Yep.
And I don't know who they gave up or what they did, but they were the righty reliever has a 2.63 ERA. He's given up 2 home runs in his first 37 appearances through July 1st. But in his last 8 games as a Rocky, the 29-year-old got tagged for 14 earned runs across 5 1/3 innings. Good for a 23.63 ERA. Bird, who cost the Yankee prospects Rock Origgio and Ben Shields. On Saturday, he pitched a perfect 6th inning with 2 strikeouts. And then he came in yesterday, got clobbered.
Ugh. How long? So he's only been there for not long. That's tough.
I'll say so. He's been sent down to Scranton.
Oof, never want to go from New
York.
The
Yankees lost again, and they are now tied for the last. They are now tied. They used to be in first place for most of the season up until 2 weeks ago. At various times, they had commanding leads, And now they are 5 games out of first, hanging on in a tie for the last wild card spot. And with Judge out now for a week or so, they can't seem to win a game. Now, this is the way they used to be a couple of years ago when they won something like 80% of the games Judge was in and lost like 60% of the ones that he wasn't in. But last year, they were winning with and without him. Of course, a lot of that credit went to Juan Soto, who, when either Judge was out or slumping, would take up the slack and vice versa. Well, the Yankees don't have Soto. We went to the Mets, where he's had a completely disappointing season. He had about a 1 or 2 week or month sort of revival, but now he's gone back to being non-productive. So maybe Soto wants to come back to the Yankees because he needs that.
Yeah, you're right in it. You're still in it, right there.
Maybe he needed Judge.
Is he back yet?
Judge is due back, yeah.
Yeah.
Scoreless,
bottom of the third against the Rangers.
Pardon me?
Yankees scoreless, bottom of the third in Arlington, Texas.
Yeah, well, the Rangers beat them last night. And that was the game. That's the game in which they knocked Bird out, sent him back to the minors. They can't come up with a reliable reliever. But this guy, I mean, this was a strange trade when you look at how he slid with a 23.63 earned run average in the last month. Looks like he's just continuing that kind of pitching.
Apparently, the Canadian wildfires, the smoke is reaching all the way to New York City, but we haven't really experienced it here. I don't know if it's smog, the smoke from the Canadian wildfires. Apparently, it's hitting New Jersey. Our correspondent Rob from Secaucus, hello Rob, is letting us know that they've been shrouded in smoke all day from the Canadian wildfires. Remember a few years ago when that happened?
It's been very overcast here, though.
Yeah,
I have to say that.
So
today,
maybe that is why.
Today and yesterday, remember, it was very, very overcast. We wanted to take some pictures yesterday, and we thought it wasn't sunny enough.
Right. Let us know in the chat. Are you getting the smoke from the Canadian wildfires? I'm hearing a lot of it in Michigan, Ohio, and now New Jersey and New York City is getting.
You should try New Delhi or Mumbai.
Is it always like that?
Or Beijing. I've forgotten if it was New Delhi or Mumbai, but I was there with my partner, Dan Connolly. And we had a hotel in India, and it led to a little garden outdoors. So we went to the garden outdoors, and we lit up a cigar. And after about 10 minutes, Dan said, looking back, and I looked him back at me, and the cigar smoke that I was blowing out was still there.
Yeah.
It was standing there waiting for me. It wouldn't move.
Well, because the air is so heavy?
Yeah, they have so much pollution.
So that it just
sits
there. That's
actually
amazing.
better. It's actually better now. This was like 15 years ago.
That's still amazing. That's amazing.
But it's a little better. I mean, they burn all the coal we don't. China and India burns all the coal that we don't. We lose all the money, all the jobs. They get all the money, all the jobs. They pollute like hell. They're dirty in terms of the way in which they do it. We have a much cleaner, more refined method of doing it that would create almost no pollution. And if you believe in the green thing, it would create some kind of green carbohydrate, whatever. But you have to have a conversion and believe in that. It's like the leap of faith for real faith. So you would know this, of course, but you know the controversy with Sydney Sweeney, who showed up in a commercial for American Eagles jeans, and she did a play on the word jeans. Or she didn't, the advertisement did. And it said, jeans usually means this, that. But these are Sydney's jeans. And there you see Sydney looking gorgeous. And they spelled it, they did the spellings. In the first part of the advertisement, jeans is G-E-N-E-S. Second part is J-E-A-N-S. So the people who spend their time being extremely depressed any day they don't feel insulted decided to found a great one here to have like many, many days of insult. They decided they were insulted. Now, why were they insulted? Because this was a comment on eugenics This is the same group that funds Planned Parenthood, who basically founded eugenics to wipe out black people. It's a play on words. So they went. So they decided now they've got to crucify Sydney Sweeney because she participated in this ad that talked about genes, and I guess they were talking about her genes, blue eyes and blonde hair and whatever. And they said that was a racial comment. Except, what are you going to say about her genes? That she's black? I mean, if she were, she could be just as beautiful. And we'd say her genes were black, but she's a blue-eyed blonde. But then they reject the genes. And they say, well, it's really about her genes.
Amazing.
The ad is kind of stupid, actually. I don't know if it's stupid. It's a play on words.
It's a play on words. I thought it was fun. I mean, not once did it cross my mind that this ad right here is
I just wouldn't get mad at her. I think it's ineffective to get mad at that girl.
But not once did I think, I get the play on the word genes, but I'm like, I see a beautiful woman. So you've heard that before. Oh, you have good genes. It's not a race thing at all. You have good genes. She's a objectively good-looking woman.
Say, I probably can't say this anymore, that the son of the Shah, who's trying to worm his way back into Iraq by messing around with the IRGC, which somebody should investigate, by the way. That's no joke. That guy, is the son of a corrupt, brutal, homicidal dictator who has lived the life of a prince based on blood money, based on the money stolen from the Iranian people. He's done nothing to help Iran in all these years. Now he wants to come back and lead Iran and says he is in close contact with the IRGC. Well, that's good. So now let's investigate him for aiding and abetting terrorism, because the IRGC is a terrorist organization. And this ne'er-do-well character is going to navigate that in the interests of everyone, like Kelly is. You want to bet who's getting the better of that relationship? So I say he is, because there once was a book saying that his father was a diminution of the gene pool from his father, who was the first Shah and much tougher, whereas the second Shah, although equally homicidal, brutal, and corrupt, he existed totally on stolen money from his people and a whole cadre of people around him who stole like hell. But he also developed a secret police that was even more brutal than his father ever had. So they said he was a diminution of the gene pool from his father. Well, this is another diminution of the gene pool. I don't know, is that racist or eugenics or just another way of saying he's stupid? Well, Sydney, the ad is doing great. The stock of the company has gone up like 15, 20%. The ad is creating a tremendous increase in sales. And all those ladies want to buy those jeans so they can look like you. And they will. If they buy the jeans, they'll look just like Sydney. That's the real idea of it, isn't it? That's what they're trying to, if you're looking for the advertising undercover motive, it's to say to you kind of unrealistically, if you just put on those jeans, you're going to look like Sydney Sweeney. I don't think so. It'll take a little more than that. It's going to take those jeans that she has. So I haven't seen this description before, but it is, but it was used in a City Journal article written by Jesse Arm, and it's excerpted in the Post, a little short excerpt from it. I haven't read the whole thing. I have it next to my bed for tonight. But it talks about how we are developing something called Luigiism. Luigiism refers, of course, to Luigi Mangione, who was the killer of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson back in December, who has become like a media darling. I mean, to these perverted people, he's like Sydney Sweeney is to normal people. And they love Luigi and they want to marry Luigi. And this guy, Brian, has become some kind of a demon, even though we don't know anything about him. His company is killing people by turning down claims. His company also probably has equal or if not greater number of false claims. And then, of course, there was the killing that took place on Times Square, which was really more of a mass killing, in which Wesley LePatner was killed, and she was a very, very admirable CEO, not CEO, but a high-level partner in Blackstone. And there's a lot of that going around. She deserves to die because she's so rich. What? 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 Also, they say that although Zoran Mandami hasn't quite embraced these two killings, in fact, the second one he said some things against, he has talked about the fact that people don't have a right to be rich. And the people who follow him very much believe that violence is justified based on identity and class structure. That is certainly true. So this is very much an application of Daniel Patrick Moynihan's description of the 1980s, in which he said we were, or early 90s, in which he said we were defining deviancy down. There was a killing of 7 people in New York, and it made headlines, but one day. And he pointed out that the St. Valentine's Day massacre was also 7 people. It was national news for a year, and it created the FBI. He said that was a country that had much greater moral fiber than the country that we now have, because we take it for granted that people are going to be killed, and we don't get all upset about it. Well, here we're now talking about retributive justice. And we get comments sometimes that directly approve it and comments that suggest that they're approving it, or that you don't have to feel as bad because this person was killed because they were rich as opposed to that person who was poor. I don't see anything in the 5th commandment. We talked about the 3rd commandment yesterday, which is thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, in reference to Mr. McKelvey, who's on the Breakfast Club, who uses Charlemagne and then is an idolater. And so is anybody that goes on the show and refers to him that way. I think that the guy should be required to take that down, his equating himself with the supreme being. And I don't think it's a joke. I think it is a very, very sad indication of how we have defined deviancy down. One more serious than the other because it leads to violence. But there is certainly a justification of violence against people that these left-wingers hate. And you've got to say, when you look at the violence that's going on, although there is some violence from the far right, and it's got to be 80, 90% from the left, without any doubt. You look at the difference between the riots in 2020 that took place all over America, in which 20, 30 people died, billions of dollars in damage. None of them took place without a burning. With what they want to claim was an insurrection in the Capitol, and nothing burned. And the people that died were the Trump supporters, for which there's been no justice, retributive or otherwise. Just complete ignoring of the murder of Ashley Babbitt. Nobody's even willing to investigate it. One investigation that took place was a joke. They never even asked a police officer the most important question: was he in fear for his life? Well, he couldn't have been in fear for his life. The woman was unarmed. She was 5'2". She's being thrown over a transom, And when he got a chance to grab her, he would have had 6 cops right next to him helping him. Plus, on her side, there were 6 cops that could have stopped her and didn't. Also, in between them were 2 men who were acting violently, who should have been the people. If he was going to overreact and shoot somebody, he shot. All of that went unexplored because Ms. Babbitt was a supporter of Donald Trump and therefore deserved to die. This is why what we showed earlier in the show, all those beautiful young people, the million with the Pope, and bringing God back. This is why we need God back. Morality doesn't exist in a vacuum. You need an anchor for it. Oh my goodness, you can have other anchors for it, yes. But for thousands and thousands of years, the most effective anchor has been belief in God, belief in a supreme being. That makes certain requirements upon you for the gift of life. And part of those requirements is to lead a good life. And it goes back to the commandments. When Moses was given the commandments by the supreme being for his people to follow, those should be a part of our everyday life. They're part of our law. They're part of our law that comes from God as opposed to from human beings. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Look at the extent we go to. If someone does a mocking presentation regarding Muhammad, where it may not be mocking at all, just historically accurate, like when Muhammad, participated in mass killings. So suppose you draw a picture of that. You just draw a picture of a historical fact. It's in the Quran. But, Chicago will take the exhibit down and they'll do a fatwa against you, and you'll have to leave the rest of your life hiding. Now you do the same thing to Jesus, and you get an Academy Award. God has to come back. Well, having said that, we're going to leave you with that thought and ask you to pray, along with all of those wonderful young people, for a peaceful world, and particularly for the people who are at war now, for the people in certainly Ukraine who are waiting for the tyrant Putin to get reined in, the people in Israel who live with the constant threat of annihilation by their neighbors, the people of Iran, whose entire culture and civilization has been taken away from them by the reign of terror. And for all good people, certainly for Christians who are being slaughtered all over the world. Can you handle it? Mostly by Muslims. And it's been that way for 14, 15, 1,600 years. Not that Christians haven't killed Muslims, but that's a long time ago. And in far less numbers, and not designed to be a genocide. That most of the major genocides were carried out by people in the name of Muhammad. Eliminated entire groups of people. They don't exist anymore. It's very hard to find a Zoroastrian. They were all over the world. A Numidian, Christian, the Coptic language. We could go on and on. So pray for peace. Pray that God enters the souls of those who seek to live their life to eliminate groups of people or people and enlightens them with the love of God. And I'm telling you, whether you are an agnostic or not, you're better off if God is active and present in the world, or people believe that. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. Plenty to cover. I've covered most of it, not all. And we'll see what happens in Texas. Be fun to see if they put all those. I mean, how long are they going to stay? Are they on vacation? They're going to stay out of the state. Maybe it's good if they stay out of the state for good.
Right. I just don't get how they could possibly make this into a positive.
If I represent a district, right?
Yeah.
And I just disappear, and I say I'm not coming back, can't they declare my seat open?
Yeah, you're out of the state. What is their
I wonder
duty?
how long you have to be out of the state. You're supposed to be out of the state for 2 years. You don't come back. Well, I guess there's an election. You have to wait for the next election. They probably are not coming up for election. This is an off year. This is sort of a local election year.
Right.
Well, we'll see. We'll follow it, and we'll find out what the federal government's doing involved in it. That's a good idea if it's justified. I believe it is on assistance and aid. Well, God bless America. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk,